All right. Welcome everybody. Welcome to SalesIntel's AdsIntel launch. So what is AdsIntel? The ABM suite that we are bringing to market. I'm going to geek it out all about ABM as well as the AI, the agentics, the agents with the three experts. The ABM and AI, the intersection of the two technologies. One that Sangram, my guest here, helped start. 2014, Sangram, I remember you started this whole movement of flip the funnel, ABM, account-based marketing, and when you fast forward to 2025 here, few organizations really latched onto ABM, especially on the enterprise side. But the mid-sized companies or the SMBs, we didn't quite get the traction. And now AI is here. So, how does AI changes the landscape? First of all, Sangram, welcome to this panel along with Cindy and Andre. You bring a very unique perspective, being the father of this industry, right?
Well, that's a good way to age me, for sure, Manoj. Man, thank you for
Well,
your friendship and thank you for what you're like really boldly trying to put out in the marketplace. One of the big shifts that I'm seeing more than anything, Manoj, compared to 2014 to 2025 and the growth that's been, and I'll give you through a story. 2 weeks ago, a CEO of a publicly traded company reached out to me and said, "Hey, I need ABM for my organization." He watched one of my courses or something. And I'm like, "You're a publicly traded company CEO.
yeah.
And you're coming to me because I've written books on it. And I've obviously, I mean, if you see my feed, it had so much ABM." He's like, "Yep, everywhere I go, it pointed to you. So I want to go directly to the horse's
Open
mouth."
source.
Yeah, and so we're working with them right now. And what it made me recognize is that ABM is still new for organizations depending upon where they come from. If you have always been a PLG or if you have already been a lead company, ABM still can have a significant impact on it. But the biggest shift is with the advancement in technology that we have, with the AI elements to it, you can move on ABM so much more faster. In 2014, people took so much longer to set up all the accounts, set up the data, set up the ad, set up the campaign, figure out how you're going to measure it, and then there was a selling process involved. Right now, none of that is needed. I think there are technologies like yours that can just skyrocket the ability to launch it, get what you want to get, and then launch it. That's something that didn't exist 10 years ago. So I'm actually I kind of think like, man, these are the golden years of ABM right now compared to 10 years ago when I started it.
Yes, no, thank you for sharing your perspective. Along with Sangram from GTM Partners and Cindy, I have Andre Yee, who was the founder and CEO of Triblio, a company that was the trailblazer, the company that was innovative when ABM first wave came around. Andre successfully exited that business and now has his next big thing. When I talk to Andre, and I've known each other for a long time, when I talk to Andre, I always learn something. He's a pioneer of the next big wave, right? He was a chief product officer at Alaqua, saw that whole marketing automation world coming in, ABM, and now he has more new stuff that he's working on. So why don't we start with Andre with your introduction? Tell us about you, your background, and what do you think of the current state of ABM?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you, Manoj, for the kind comments. My background, as you noted, formerly Eloqua, I was in charge of product development, and then I ended up starting my own company, Triblio, which we like to think of ourselves as really one of the pioneers in ABM. And then now I am on to my next company, Tiga AI, and we're an AI agent platform to amplify productivity for B2B selling teams. So maybe, just in terms of account-based marketing, I think to take a small step back, I would say this, ABM was all about really two new ideas, if you would, at the time. It's really B2B marketing in some sense, but it had two new ideas. The first is focus on targeting your best fit accounts instead of just random lead capture. And then the second was focus on the buying group. And I think when I think about the state of ABM today, I think that I think people understand those concepts, and many of them have invested in that. But I don't. This is just a gut feel, but I sense in the market a bit of disillusionment, a little bit of discouragement. It's almost like ABM has hit the hype curve, and now it's now kind of I won't say I think it's ready for sort of like broader and more practical solutions. Because I think the hype curve was important to gain a foothold in the market, but I think there were also some challenges. I think the sort of like the market is a little bit disillusioned, and I think there are some reasons for that, which I'm happy to go into, but I don't want to.
I would love to double click on that, Andre. Logically, it makes sense, right? We all have limited budgets, limited resources. No matter whether you're Microsoft or you are, SalesIntel, a smaller company, we all have limited resources. So logically, it makes sense to go after the best fit accounts, right? The buying center. Yet, even during the hype time, we only saw like larger enterprises adopt ABM, and mid-sized companies or SMB, for some or the other reason, that market never took off. What's your take on that? Why was that reason?
That was actually a market that we also tried to address with Triblio, and I think the reason I think there were companies that adopted it, but I think the reason why I think it's been challenging is that I think it's been twofold. One is that it takes a lot of measuring success in ABM is not as straightforward, to be honest, as when we did the sort of first wave of demand generation around MQLs. It's very easy to measure MQLs, even if they're not very meaningful as a metric. It's easy to measure. Everyone understands that. I think measuring the effectiveness of ABM is not as straightforward as that, right? And you have to sort of retrain people and especially senior executives on how to understand success and measurement of success. So I think that's always a challenge. If you don't do a good job, and maybe we didn't, do a great job with being able to identify and measure success effectively, that's always going to lead to some limitation. And then I think the second thing is that over a period of time, these solutions got really expensive for mid-market companies, right? And I think we always at Triblio felt like we were priced right, and we really wanted to serve SMB and mid-market companies, and we had some enterprise clients as well. But by and large, a lot of the ABM solutions became quite costly, and costly not just in terms of the software, but costly in terms of the management costs as well. So I think those are the two. If you ask me why it's challenging for SMBs and mid-market companies to adopt ABM, those are probably the two biggest challenges.
You nailed it, Andre. As many of you guys know, that we just launched our new product. We call it AdsIntel, which solves those two issues. We saw the mid-market companies, they really want to be strategic and go after account-based marketing, but they don't have $50,000 to $100,000 to get started, and then the ads dollar on top of it. Second is these tools have become so complex to operate that you need either an agency or 2%, 3% team to manage, right? So AdsIntel, we have little infomercial about us. We try to keep it very simple, where if you're a small company and all you need is ads, we have integrations with your wall garden, LinkedIn, Facebook, PPC, Google PPC, at the same time display and retargeting. Like you can just take AdsIntel and get started and have your campaign ready to go within 30 minutes, right? At the same time, if you want to be sophisticated and do the whole ABM play, you can use our ICP Intel to figure out your best fit account. You can come and use our intent data to focus your efforts on companies that are in market, right? And then put ads in front of them, bring them to the website, see who's filling up the form using our intelligent forms fill, or folks that don't fill in the forms, retarget them. Today, I have Cindy Zhou from KnowBe4. She has been a distinguished CMO for over 20 years and has used all and the tools within the ABM stack and has seen the market move. Cindy, welcome to the webinar.
Thank you so much, Manoj, and thank you to everyone watching for having me.
Cindy, to kick things off, why don't we start with your introduction and your perspective on the current state of ABM, the account-based marketing?
Sure, absolutely. So hi, everyone. I'm Cindy Zhou. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of cybersecurity and human risk management platform company called KnowBe4. You've probably taken our cybersecurity training before. We have over 70,000 customers worldwide. And it really is a interesting trend that I'm seeing. ABM the term really started about 10, 12 years ago. And right back then we would just call it was account selling. Right? It was just, targeted account selling was really the terminology for it. And because of the marriage of the marketing and the sales motion, it really kind of evolved into ABM, account-based marketing. And so you cannot get away from the marketing world, particularly in B2B marketing. I don't care what industry you're in, that you can't get away from the term ABM. Over the last, I would say, 2 years, though, the shift I'm seeing went from everyone trying to understand and adopting ABM to now it's the rise of AI. How do we incorporate the AI aspect into it to help us become smarter marketers, to be able to use the technology more efficiently and effectively? And so that has become a dominant part of the conversation that is almost coupled together with the ABM conversation.
Oh, this is great. This is a good transition. AI is everywhere. AI,
Everywhere.
Last year we saw Gen AI, and this year we are seeing the Agentic AI.
Yeah.
What's the state of ABM today, right? From your lens, as you're now advising companies, you started this whole movement of Flip My Funnel, ABM, then you moved on to starting the GTM consulting from. You're doing a phenomenal job in helping so many companies figure out the right go-to-market strategy. So when you look at all these small, mid-sized, large companies, how would you categorize? How would you define the current state of ABM in the industry?
I think it has truly become the way companies should go to market. There was a time, when I didn't know if ABM was the right thing for every company. There was clear, especially if you're in B2B, I said, okay, absolutely, you should try it, but I didn't know if it was 100% way to go to market. I cannot imagine now with the amount of AI elements available, why wouldn't you do ABM as an organization? I'll give you a couple of examples. First and foremost, the whole point of ABM was personalization. We know that you can have it 10 times more personalization than 10 years ago when we started around who you're reaching out, how are you reaching out, what channels you're reaching out. That level of sophistication didn't exist. Number two, the cost of launching an ABM program was so massively high that most people thought ABM equals expensive. That's no longer the case. I think absolutely the change that has happened again with technology like yours, people can actually launch ABM programs at a fraction of the cost with absolutely high sophistication and accuracy. And that element did exist in 2014, 2017. The whole movement was we wanted to do a better job of marketing, better job of sales. Now it's not just wanting to do better job of sales. You actually can do it. You actually can see it. You actually can make sure that everything is connected and working better, and you don't have to pay the amount of money you used to pay 10 years ago. So I think it's the golden age.
This is great. So let's shift the gears to AI, right? AI is here. It can do personalization at scale. The very promise of ABM. You mentioned very interesting thing about how should the success of ABM platform be derived? Like how should leaders think about measuring it if it's not MQLs?
Yeah, I mean there's there are a lot of different metrics, but I think first of all, it's obviously more than we can cover right now. But one fundamental difference is being able to measure MQAs, qualified accounts versus just the individual leads. And anyone who's been a practitioner of ABM understands that because, you can get an exceedingly high score on a single lead who may be a junior person on the buying team.
Yep.
But that doesn't actually indicate that account is ready to buy. In fact, it's not unusual for an executive or a senior person to tell the junior person, hey, go research a bunch of different options. And so, I think, really good MQA scoring that takes into account the number of different stakeholders that are looking at your potential solution, being able to score them based on seniority, those kinds of things. That's difficult to do, actually, and difficult to measure. I mean, in reality, if you just think about it, it's difficult to measure effectively. And so I think, just as an example, that's what I mean when I say it's difficult to get your hands around the success metrics. That's not to say that there aren't practitioners who do it well. And so in some ways, I'm kind of curious about your platform. I haven't seen it, but I'm kind of curious how you go about solving the kind of reporting and measurement problem.
Yeah. So, our thought here is ultimately marketeers or the revenue organizations that buy, whether it's ABM or any GTM tools, we have to deliver value, and we measure value in terms of pipeline generation, right? Have we generated pipeline for them or not? And these are long games. You can't buy a software and expect that month 2 you'll have pipeline. That you have to run these programs for a couple of months to see the pipeline grow. But eventually, over a year period of time, our promise is that, look, you invest $1 with us, we will ensure that we are generating at least 5x of pipeline for you, right?
That's great. Yeah, that's great, because I think that's the one shift that did occur in what you call the first wave of ABM, which is when we started Triblio, I think the primary metric that most demand gen organizations use was still MQLs. And during the time that we were growing the business, we saw that shift dramatically, where I think by the end, by the time I sold the company in 2020, I think it became a mainstream understanding and practice to measure, as you say, pipeline contribution, and directly, which is the right way to do it. So that's encouraging.
I would love to hear your views on the impact of agentic AI on ABM, and what are some of the use cases that you see are ripe for disruption?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting, right? If you even look at Salesforce, because they're such a dominant player in the sales and marketing world, their last conference, Dreamforce, they even have a separate brand, Agentforce. And it really is all about the AI agents now. Even speaking for KnowBe4, we launched our ADA product, which is actually all about the artificial intelligence defense agents. And so the agentic AI is something that is now meant to be your co-pilot, your quote unquote partner, your wingman, wingwoman, and really be able to help the marketer as they're going through the different tasks, right? Manoj, I mean, again, I'm probably dating myself here, but you think about years ago and the popularity of something like WalkMe, to help you through navigating a platform. Now it's so much more intelligent in being able to help you understand, hey, here's what you need to do as a next step, surface insights. If you look at even just in any of our day-to-day products now, I just enabled the Google intelligence on my phone too. So they're actually giving you insights, helping you write your emails, replies, etc. And I think that's going to be a game changer for marketers.
This is great. What are some of the other use cases that you wish you had access to, those like agentic AI or the Gen AI back in 2014?
Well, we in the early days, we actually had a whole group of digital specialists we hired at our company, and their whole job was to create multiple different banners of ads, because companies didn't actually have people who could create that. There wasn't many tools available that will create 20 different ads with the same message with different color font. Now you have like hundreds of agentic solutions that can say, all right, here's my message, here's a customer logo that we want to go after, create me a landing page, create me a set of graphics around this thing, use this messaging and template around it. And you can now have, for all 100 companies you want to target, within a matter of few minutes, you can create it today and then have that personalized experience. We literally had a department of digital analyst and digital specialist in the company paying full-time salary to do what I think you can now do using technology within a matter of hours.
Well, Andre, congratulations that you started the new company. It's the intersection of AI and bringing efficiency to go-to-market teams, right? AI is going to be everywhere, right? It's already everywhere, but this year is the year of AI agentic. We are all hearing about it. How do you see AI or the agentic AI impacting or influencing ABM strategies?
Yeah, I think first of all, when I think of agentic AI, and sort of impacting in general B2B sales and marketing, I think the number one thing is about driving productivity, not primarily as an explicit one-to-one replacement of a role. So it's not like, hey, I don't need SDRs anymore, or I don't need content marketers, just but I think it's a force multiplier for the human worker to be able to do at scale what used to be difficult or time consuming or sometimes even impossible to do, right? So, just to give you an example in my world, with Tiga, we have a customer that sells CRMs to retailers. They have 1,500 retailers in their target account group. So they're doing a form of broad scale ABM in a sense. They've identified accounts. But one of the things they look for is a signal where they want to reach out and do ads or reach out over email whenever these accounts announce a new store opening. Now, they have figured out that anecdotally, they've figured out this is a good signal for them, a good buyer signal. But there's no way for them to buy that data from any data provider. They actually have to manually go and look for these signals. And actually, that's what we do for them. The Tiga will find these signals and actually kind of trigger kind of outbound actions based on that. And I think that's just one example in the ABM world. How do you use agentic AI to find signals? The other is how do you use agentic AI just to help the productivity of the marketer who has reports to run, or they have to initiate campaigns. They need a helper to remind them of different things, right? So that's just, it runs the gamut. I think the big picture is I think this is a huge opportunity. And I don't think workers in different roles should be afraid of it. I think they should embrace it, because I think that and have a deep conviction that it's really not about replacing, at least in B2B, it's not about primarily explicitly replacing any one role. It's about being a force multiplier to the role.
Yeah. So going back to previous question, ABM, has been around, and our fellow panelist here, Sangram, he started this whole revolution of flip the funnel, if you remember, right?
Yeah, he was awesome at it.
From there came, he co-founded Terminus, and from there came the whole category of account-based marketing. But for some reason, the enterprises adopted much better than the small and mid-sized companies. Why do you think that's the case, that smaller and mid-sized companies never got onto the ABM as effective as it has been for enterprises?
Yeah, I think the big part of it, Manoj, is really when it comes down to cost. It has become a little bit of a barrier right now. It's getting a little bit better nowadays. You're going to be paying a premium for the AI elements. That's really what I'm seeing. But from overall in the past, enterprises were really the only companies that were able to afford it. You're talking about the platform itself, just from a software licensing perspective. That's already, a high 5-figure, sometimes 6-figure investment. But then you also, on top of that, when you deploy the ads, there's the fees associated with that. And so you could see that number can really compound very, very quickly. And if you're also not super tight on the filters and how many accounts do you go after, et cetera, that could also multiply and compound the pricing as well. So I think that's really the primary driver of enterprises being the kind of initial adopters of it. I also think that the bigger companies, you have a little bit more ability to do experiments. You have a little bit more budget put aside to try new things. And that's why I think you could see a lot of the different, kind of larger companies embrace ABM a lot quicker. However, I will say, being a part of Technology Marketing Alliance, I'm a board member there. It's all the DC area CMOs, VPs of marketing, and then other CMO groups I've been a part of. The ABM conversation is everywhere. It is the small businesses, it's the mid-size. If they're not in it yet, they're doing kind of low tech ways, right? Let's say they don't have a platform. They're doing like direct mail. They're doing some manual things to try to go on the ABM bus. And not necessarily through technology, but everybody's talking about it.
Yeah, no, this is a great point. So, when we were thinking about, AdsIntel and this whole ABM packaging, we saw the market almost in two segments, right? One, which was at the lower end of the mid market, where the only thing that they were looking for was a platform through which they can put the ads, right? Put the ads in front of their prospect, put the ads in front of their existing customers, just to create in the first category brand awareness, and second category keep the brand in front of their customers. But there was no solution available that was cost effective, right? So you hit the point that smaller companies are cost sensitive, and instead of them going to three different platforms, Google, LinkedIn, and Facebook, now we are bringing this platform where small businesses or even mid-sized companies can just use it for deploying their ads, right? At the same time, if they want a full-blown platform, ABM, where they have intent data, web visitors with integration with CRM and marketing, we can provide that whole ABM platform as well. Other thing that I would like to touch on, this AI component, going back to AI. The life cycle of ABM is, find the companies that are showing intent, right? Put ads in front of them, create the awareness, bring them to your website, convert them using the smart forms. And if they don't convert, then retarget them, right? So that's kind of the workflow. When you look at that workflow, which part do you think agentic AI can do better and bring efficiency there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it starts at the beginning, if I think about it, right? Because the intent, the signals in the past weren't as strong about what exactly was the intent. You could see that they're searching by a term, or they're looking for a particular name of a company. You could see those kinds of things. But then can it get to one layer deeper to truly help you get to that ideal customer profile? And particularly if you think about if you're a company, I shouldn't say the size of the company, but depending on the company's target customer, right? If they are selling to enterprises and Fortune 1000 or the Global 2000, you have a finite set of accounts that you're dealing with. So you can almost preload that, and you can monitor and really, kind of do the targeting there. But if you're a company that sells to small and mid-sized businesses, your customer could be from anywhere. It's more of it's a horizontal approach versus a vertical approach. And so how can you get to better granularity on who is that customer? Then you can start to do pattern recognition. And that is where I think the agents can really be helpful there. It's helping you synthesize and process this data faster. And then particularly, how it is now with marketers and boards and CFOs and CEOs, they all want to see the return on investment in the marketing expense. And so gone are the days of, hey, I spent X million on ads, and then we believe we got this much in eyeballs or influence, right? It's more of a, how much did it convert? Did it actually lead to close won opportunities? And so having the agents be your kind of by your side and can surface those insights, I think it can make marketers a lot more effective. And they don't have to spend as much time to dive in deeply and learn a particular platform, because that has been part of the roadblock, right? It's if you're a smaller company, you may not have the marketing team to then dedicate a person or two people to just run the ABM platform itself.
Yeah, no, this is another great point. So just to double click on those both points. So the AI agents now can help you define your ICP, right? If you don't know your ICP, or if you have to just further refine your ICP, these AI agents can pick the right accounts based on your initial definition, put the ads, load them directly into the advertisement platform, and learn from the behavior, learn from the data, learn from the performance that those ads are performing, right? And the impact of those down funnel to see, are those ads converting into opportunities into the closed or lost deal, right? Today, a human has to do it. For a large company like KnowBe4, you can afford to put two marketeers, but for the smaller and the mid-sized organization, it's hard to dedicate those kind of resources. So you think that agents at the front end, at the same time with the data analytics, right, can be helpful.
Absolutely. It's the helping the marketer navigate to ensure that, like, let's say if they're putting on a filter or a process and a workflow for the ad, that's helping it on the front end, the marketer, right? To how do we deploy it? How do you use the platform? And then on the other side of it is giving you the analytics and giving you that. So say, hey, you know, did you realize like your last ad, I'm making this up, right? Your last ad targeting at financial services only got a 30% response rate, but the one you targeted retail, that gave you a 60% response rate. Okay, now the marketer can make smarter decisions around where do I actually deploy my next couple of ads to go where there's actually better conversion, better, you can use the insights to help you drive those decisions.
Makes sense. Yeah. So do you think, Sangram, is this the reason why current solutions in the market are so expensive, right? The adoption of ABM has not been that high. So you have, upper quartile, if you will, of large enterprise companies. They have invested in the tools that are available, whether 6sense or Demandbase or ZoomInfo as a marketing OS. But the mid-sized companies or even the SMBs, they're kind of shied away. The adoption has not been there.
Yeah, I think it's been the hard. Everybody just thought ABM equals expensive. If you can do ABM, that meant you could actually afford a lot of technology, but it also meant that you have longer sales cycles, you have complicated sales process, and you had 10 people in the buying process, and your solution most likely was at least 50 grand or 100 grand or more in order to make it worthwhile. Those were like the key fundamentals of why you should do ABM, because it just requires that level of handoff. But today, even if you have a $10,000 product, you should be doing ABM. If you have $5,000 product, you can do ABM. That is such a different perspective, Manoj. I don't think I could have signed off on that 10 years ago, but I can today because there is advancement in data accuracy that didn't exist the way we have. Ads accuracy that actually can be done. You can actually literally go to the person at the person level on the places that you want. And you have message specificity that didn't exist before. All of these three things are now possible at fraction of the cost and speed at which you can go to market. That, I think every organization, I can say today, I couldn't say that 10 years ago. I could say today, if you are in B2B and if you know who you're going after, and if you are selling, even if you're selling a coursework, which is $100 a month or something, you now have the possibility to do ABM because that is going to increase your conversion rate.
I would love to, spend a minute or two on ABM workflow as you see them and where Agentic is helpful. I'll tell you what we have done. It's a 1.0 version of the product, right? We have put Agentic at the front end where you come in and define your ICP, right? Once you define the ICP using our tools, then the agent is always working behind the scene. Any new account that fits the criteria, we are going to get the buying center for them and add them into the existing ad campaign, right?
Yeah.
Something that you would otherwise rely on your worker. So think of this as a digital worker working behind the scene for you. Right? Yeah. And second is on the reporting side, right? You have all the data that's coming in and we are reporting and giving the feedback back. So those are the two use cases that we have very, very early, those two agents, but you have lived through this, like you've seen the whole life cycle of it. Where else do you think there's a room for improvement or productivity gain from Agentic AI?
I think you're on to, I think what you said is really, when you were talking about the ICP and, monitoring for other sort of good fit accounts. I mean, it's very similar in a sense to the kind of thing that the customer is telling you that we have that is looking for signals. I mean, whether it's looking for firmographic fit or buyer signals, I think that is one of the primary use cases for Agentic AI because it can identify these, you can sort of instruct or set the AI to operate on your behalf. And it's always out there looking for these signals, looking for best fit accounts. And I think the thing that's particularly interesting is that really, when I started, in our conversation, I said, ABM is about best fit accounts. In the beginning, the best fit accounts were all about, firmographic, but increasingly over a period of time, people started incorporating intent data into the mix, right? Because it's not just about firmographic fit. It's also who is likely to be in market right now, right? And so that's another dimension. And I think agentic AI can help in that regard quite a bit. So
do you think 2025 finally is the year where ABM becomes the mainstream?
Well, I hope I graduate from father to godfather so that I could tell that, man, it's been 10 years now and people have been doing it and now it's becoming the standard. I do believe, Manoj, that going back to the conversation I had with the CEO of a publicly traded company, and when he was thinking about it, he's taking the time to take a course on my course on LinkedIn. Like I couldn't imagine that. But that just tells me that there's so much inefficiency in the business that leaders of the companies are recognizing, and they themselves are on a hunt to figure out what is a better way to do it, what is a faster way to do it. So it's no longer that you have a operations person who's going to come up and tell you all the solutions. I think you need to have a strategic view of why you want to do what you want to do. You need to get back to that, and then you need to straight away look at what's possible, and whatever is possible right now, 3 months from now, it's going to be much more faster and better and jump. The speed of innovation is high. I think if there was one thing that I'm even more excited than anything is I believe that the promise of AI is not getting things faster. That's going to be table stakes. I think the promise of AI is going to be when a product that you have can look at all the patterns of your customers and suggest a new product for you to create that will then automatically observe them. And then that loop actually is not marketing sales efficiency. It's actually the product will automatically be in it. I'm starting to see some openings on it, and I'm like, wow, this is fascinating.
Yeah, that's a promise of agentic, right?
Yeah.
Where the agent goes and learns from the environment and gets smarter for the next iteration and for the next transaction.
Not just next transaction, it can actually rebuild a new product.
Very interesting. So let's double click on that. We provide with this the launch of our advertisement solution, which is AdsIntel, smaller companies. If all they're looking for an ad solution, they can get up and running within hours, right? Put their first campaign within hours. If you need a full-blown ABM solution, we have the suite of ABM solution that gives you the intent data, the website visitor information, targeting and retargeting, right? Yeah. And then ultimately the data that you need. We have both these solutions. So double click on us for how will AI create more product or develop more product for the customer.
Oh, so for example, for your thousands of customers that you guys have today, if you're tracking exactly what they're doing, your agentic solution should tell you the pattern of all the things your customers are doing. As a result of that pattern, it's not going to tell, oh, serve them ads. They need to, instead of 30 minutes, it should be launched in 25 minutes. That's table stakes. That is, you should learn that from your existing process and all the AI elements. The real AI is when it can say, you know what, in addition to do this, they actually need a solution that actually makes their ads better, faster in the marketplace. They actually are integrating with 4 different technologies, which forces you to create 4 different things. That will give you a loop back into saying, man, oh, I actually need to go and acquire a company that does exactly this. And now I'm going to be observing my existing customers and just plug and play, because 80% of the customers are trying to do that or using something else to do that. That layer of understanding and innovation was once a year kind of new thing on a product roadmap. I want to acquire something. Manoj, mark my words, that's going to happen in 30 days time frame. Especially at the scale of companies like yours, where I have thousands of customers. If you can teach and make them, the AI, think about what product should I create, if the input and prompts are right and tracking is right, it will tell you the next 3 companies either you should acquire or the new products you should be selling to your existing customers, beyond observing your customers with the basic level that you should fully expect your AI to do.
That is fascinating. That's fascinating. That's great. So with agentic AI, we have digital workers that are less expensive than the human workers and more efficient, right? Obviously, as you mentioned, they're not going to replace the human. They're going to augment the humans that are working. The cost is naturally going to come down, right? Like if you compare our cost to the competition, very, very affordable solution. So the 2 issues of lack of adoption in the small to mid-size were cost and the manpower, right?
Mhm.
To bring those two down with the agentic AI, do you think 2025 is a year where the mass market, which is a small and mid-sized businesses, start to adopt AI or start to
Yeah,
adopt the ABM?
no, I actually do quite a bit because I think really the market is ready for what I would call a lean ABM.
Mhm.
So, I think I kind of think of what's happened to ABM, unfortunately, is become really, sort of very heavyweight. Like if you want to adopt ABM in a mid-market company, it's like it gets close to like a six-figure software project, and then when you throw in the manpower required to run it, it's $500,000 or whatever it is, and that's a big investment. I think I think the market is ready for sort of this idea of lean ABM, right?
I love this idea, lean ABM. We will
Can I get started? You're going to steal that? Can I get a?
I'm gonna steal. Can I steal that?
Yeah,
Lean ABM.
yeah, I really think that's obviously I have a dev background and product background. We've been talking about lean development for a long time, but I think in ABM that's really what's required. I think the market is ready for that. They want to be able to say, can I, sort of crawl, walk, and then when I'm ready, then maybe I'll scale it out. But I want to see, and I don't want the starting footprint to cost me $500,000. I want it to be like $50,000 or less, to get started. And so I don't know if that's what you guys can do, but I think that's what the market is looking for.
Yeah, that's exactly the idea. That look, you can get started with ads, you can get this whole suite, and still not break your bank. Makes sense. So we are all hearing that 2025 is the year for AI, for agentic AI. Do you think, Cindy, 2025 will be the year for ABM as well?
Hi. Yes, I will call it AI-driven ABM. That will be the year of AI ABM. And yes, I do. And really congrats, Manoj. I know that that's a big step. We've known each other for a long time, and it's fabulous to see the growth of SalesIntel. And you launching this product. I think there are a lot of companies that could really benefit from having a kind of all-in-one platform to use that is cost effective.
Thank you, Cindy. We really appreciate you coming on the show. As we wrap this up, I would love for each of our panelists to give, if you have one advice to give to companies that have not yet embraced ABM, or even creating the brand awareness using the ads. What advice would you have for those businesses?
Well, I would say, what are you waiting for? You should try something first. Experimentation is at the heart of marketing. We have to try new things. And I say this to my team all the time, Manoj. If I were to look back at 20 years of marketing, the way we were doing marketing 20 years ago and now is completely night and day. And so you have to keep experimenting. You got to keep trying new things, and that's what keeps you on the forefront. So if you don't really have a good understanding about AI and marketing, start using it in your personal life first. Try ChatGPT. Look at it helping, get better at writing prompts. And so I would say, what are you waiting for? Go out there and experiment. You could put a little bit of budget aside, try it, and then you see some good results, and then you double down.
Awesome. Cindy, thank you so much for joining us for this webinar. I'm sure our audience will get some nuggets. And last point, how should our audience connect with you? You have wealth of knowledge around marketing.
Oh, well, I would love to meet new folks, and feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. You can find me at Cindy Zhou. And I think my LinkedIn literally is after linkedin.com, it's /Cindy Zhou, or look me up, Cindy Zhou at KnowBe4.
Great. Awesome. Thanks, Cindy. Sangram, this has been very, very helpful. Thanks for joining the panel. If you have one advice to the CEO or the GTM leader to get started with an ad solution or an ABM solution, what would that be in 2025?
Well, first and foremost, you already know my whole process on this is that the CEO owns go-to-market. The go-to-market leader has to be the person who says, I own it. And they have to recognize that this is something they have to take full ownership of. The big advice is that transformation does not happen at an individual level. Don't try to make marketing smart and then sales smart and then CS smart and try to have each one of them have different numbers. transformation in business happens in teams. So if you can get your entire team aligned on the ICP, so you know that the marketing is doing for the right ICP, sales will have their back when they're closing, CS will have a phenomenal experience, and retention will be higher. If you can get your team transformed that way, that's the way you do ABM. It's no longer this silo give me leads, this silo give me products. No, it's like how I do as a team. And that is a CEO's job. And that is something that most CEOs are trying to not do it, but that is their job. That's what you're hired. That's what you're supposed to do.
So own the GTM strategy and make ABM as your priority.
Absolutely.
Awesome, Sangram. Thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate it. I'm sure our listeners are going to get a lot of nuggets. And guys, you know how to reach Sangram. Sangram is on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and you can always email him at sangram.vajre@gtmpartners.com.
Thank you so much, Manoj. I appreciate this question, and the prompts were really helpful for me.
Cool. Thanks, buddy. Andre, this has been great. What advice would you have for a mid-sized company that has just raised Series A, scaling their operation, and have ABM in mind, but they don't know should they take that leap of faith or not? What advice would you have for them to get started with ABM?
Yeah, I mean, it's akin to what I just said. I think, if you want to get started, find a way. And I think this is why I think there are solutions, there are opportunities out there, whether you piece it together yourself or use something that you provide. But find a way to get started with a small footprint and really you want to be kind of crawl, walk, and run, right? So you want to, start with, get started with a set of accounts that are, high potential accounts and get to work there. You can talk about it all you want. You can be ABM curious forever, but you actually have to do it and then learn from it. I think in my experience, the customers have been the most successful in this, have been the ones that said, hey, I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to run it in a small scale, but frame a project that is measurable. And then based on that, expand and then eventually scale, right? And that's not new advice for 2025, but it is I would say timeless advice for ABM. That's what I've noticed with successful customers. So
great, awesome, Andre. Thank you so much, and to all our panelists, thank you so much for joining us on this event, ABM and AI. We are doing this, on the occasion of the launch of our products, AdsIntel. So I couldn't be more thankful for you to share the learnings that you had from Tribulio.
Thanks, appreciate it, Manoj.